favorite phrase right here. See that?
Little by little, and then all at once.
Right. That's my favorite. I had that painting made by a buddy of mine, but that's what it is. It's called logarithmic decay. Little by little by little by little, and bang, you go off the cliff. Now, when is that bang? Now, I could say the little by little is real. It keeps happening.
Yeah,
and
we can see that.
If you're paying attention, and in your part of the world, you're able to see it more clearly than most people here in the United States. But we can see this de-dollarization. Countries are selling treasuries or letting them roll off. They're not accumulating dollars the way they once were. They're accumulating commodities, and they're doing all of these things little by little by little by little. This is not something that is this is a once in a generation deal. Maybe it is after. Are they going to issue this new settlement currency in October? Dilma Rousseff said we're going to have a meeting this week, right now in September, in China, to talk more about the unit and Project Enbridge. We've agreed in principle to doing it. What if they roll it out next month in October? And they say, listen, this is our preferred method. When we talk about Saudi Arabia in August, just a month or two ago, they didn't re-up the exclusivity deal that's been in place for 50 years. They didn't say we're not going to take dollars. They said, well, we might take other currencies too. The door, little by little by little by little, and we join these unions and work. How about Saudi Arabia? What did they just get caught doing? They just got caught buying 260 tons of gold or whatever that they didn't tell the world about. They're straddling. They're trying to quietly de-dollarize without upsetting the West. And so, the import-export number showed it, but it was a big deal because they didn't alert the IMF and they didn't alert the normal chain of reporting. They're quietly trying to de-dollarize. So, all of these countries, little by little by little by little, are putting themselves in place for that all-at-once moment. There's something called Operation Sandman.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, and a good buddy of mine, Mike Adams, one of the smartest dudes I've met, Health Ranger. He has his own channel on Brighteon TV. In fact, he started Brighteon. Talks about Operation Sandman, and it's, you can Google it; it'll pop up. It's a, and I don't know where it came from or who's behind it, but it's an agreement supposedly of 100+ countries who they call it the night of the switch. That's that all at once moment. Now, you could argue each one of these countries have been preparing for the last several years to little by little by little quietly diversify. You don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face. You want to do it in a manner that no one really notices, slowly. And that's what they've been doing. And then bang, dump the dollar all at once. And what would that do? That would create havoc in this country unlike anything people can imagine, because the synthetic demand that has been created by the dollar being the reserve currency, meaning you have to buy it in order to buy oil, has been extraordinary. If all of a sudden that's over, yeah, we're going to take, we don't want really the dollar anymore. We're going to take this new unit settlement currency, and that's what our preferred method of settlement. Bang, every country in the world dumps dollars all at once on Operation Sandman, the night of the switch. And those dollars and those treasuries hit our shore in a tsunami of inflation.
Saudi Arabia quietly bought 260 tons of gold without alerting the IMF, and countries around the world are selling off US treasuries. What's happening behind the scenes could lead to a financial shock like we've never seen. Andy Schectman warns of Operation Sandman, a covert agreement between 100+ countries to ditch the US dollar all at once. Imagine every country dumping their dollars overnight. What would that mean for America? With China already reducing its US Treasury holdings and hoarding commodities like gold and rare earth minerals, the stage is being set for an economic collapse. This night of the switch could send the US dollar crashing and unleash a tsunami of inflation. The question is, how soon will it happen, and will the US be ready to handle the fallout?
Because they cut off their nose to spite their face. You can't do it too quickly. You upset the apple cart. But look at China as an example. China had $3 billion in treasuries. They're down to $700 billion. Then instead of selling them all and shocking the system, they used to, as they would come off their balance sheet, they would just repurchase it again and repurchase it again. Now they're just letting them roll off.
Right.
And so instead of re-upping on the treasury, they're letting it roll off, and they're buying commodities like gold, with
Yeah,
it.
and a lot of
China,
rare earth minerals as well. I read that they're prepping, and most of the rare earth minerals that are already mined in their country, they're also stacking and stashing them.
they
So they're
refine
clearly,
100%.
yeah,
100% of the rare earths are refined in China. We didn't think this Green New Deal out real well. The majority, as you mentioned, are mined in the Eurasian continent. They're flying all around Latin America right now. They're the second. Now, everyone knows they're the largest producer of gold in the world. Do you know they're the second largest producer of silver in the world? Second. And I just did an interview with Sean Kuhn from Dolly Varden Silver, who has validated what I heard from another mining exec that they are flying all around, and he said this publicly, they're flying all around Latin America buying up doré and concentrate bars in silver. For people who don't know what doré bars are, it's a crudely refined bar by the miners, maybe 60% pure. They'll put it in a bar and send it to a refiner to make it 100% pure, or 999. And so they're buying the doré bars and what's called concentrate. It's the sludge that is as a byproduct of all of this stuff. And they're buying it and sending it back to China directly. Sorry, this keeps turning directly from the miners and sending it back to China to have it refined, so it doesn't come off of an exchange. So you're looking at a situation where that's exactly what they're doing. They're gobbling up. They produce and refine they produce most of the rare earths. They refine 100%. They're buying up all the gold and silver and draining the exchanges from the LBMA to the COMEX left and right. They're buying the unrefined stuff from the miners, so it's private and off the table, and bringing it home. They bought the London Metals Exchange recently, which is the exchange that trades all of the base metals, and they're building warehouses in Shanghai to stockpile the metals that are traded on those contracts in London. They're striking deals all around the world in the Belt Road Initiative and the BRICS with underdeveloped countries who are resource rich, and they build the infrastructure and let them bring this to the market. So yes, what Zoltan Pozsar said, and he's a very smart man. He said this is Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 1, when our currency was backed by gold after World War II, we took over for the pound sterling, all the way to 71, where de Gaulle from France drained most of the gold, or half the gold held at the treasury. We closed the gold window. Bretton Woods is over. Bretton Woods 2, 3 years later, when Kissinger goes and strikes the petrodollar deal in Saudi Arabia, until you could argue just a few months ago when they didn't re-up the exclusivity. Bretton Woods 2 is over. That would have loosely been Bretton Woods 2. Bretton Woods 3, as he calls it, is a system that will be all about commodities and transparency, a la blockchain, Enbridge, and commodities. Gold, which is what? The only other tier 1 reserve asset in the world, as reclassified by the BIS, who's behind Enbridge. So if you see all of this and put these crumbs together, each and every one of these things in and of themselves are impressive or important. Put them together and you're like, whoa, yeah, I see that. This is a linear progression of events. And the one thing that I respect the most of the BRICS nations, that they've been doing this for 18 years. It's not a shotgun thing over the last 3-4 years, is how methodical they are. Like you said, why don't they just dump everything? Well, they'd screw themselves. So instead, they slowly let these things fall off, and instead of buying more treasuries in dollars, they replace it with base metals, precious metals.
But it seems October, November comes too early then for this Operation Sandman, because they still need more time to do this in a smart way and not hurting themselves. So would you say they need more time, let's say 5 more years, instead of trying to accomplish everything this year already?
Well, who knows? Who knows what the external forces may be? I don't know. But yes, it would be wise, and they are methodical. It probably would be wise to not do it in October or November, but who knows what motivational forces are behind them. But yes, the prudent method, and if you look at the drawdown of the London Metals Exchange, they have, LBMA, they have the lowest amount of silver they've had since they started keeping records. At 8.1% of the silver float was delivered off of the exchange in the month of August. In August, 8% of what is available to be delivered in London was delivered. Who's buying it? 25 million ounces of silver. Who's buying it? Well, it's going eastward. It's never coming back. They're draining the exchanges slowly, using the mechanism that no one ever did, and that is to stand for delivery. And so the West suppresses the price of gold and silver. to make their bond market seem stronger than it is, the illusion of a currency strength. And they're using it against us by draining the exchanges.
Now that you know about the looming threat of Operation Sandman and how it could collapse the US economy, there's another critical piece of the puzzle you need to understand. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into how global commodities are reshaping the financial landscape and what that means for your investments. Don't miss it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay ahead of the curve.